Now, I remember along with probably most people, was saying at the beginning, oh, by the 4th of July, somebody had a thing how the country was, the economy was going to be tanked by then. And I was kind of like, well, that seems right to me, but that didn't happen. Now, it could happen tomorrow. I'm just saying that's reality. So let's work first from the reality of that, not from I just hate Donald Trump, because that's boring and doesn't get us anywhere and leads you to dishonesty. Because the truth is, I don't know what his strategy is. But look, the stock market is at record highs. I know not everybody lives by the stock market, but I also drive around. I don't see a country in a depression at all. I see people out there just living their lives. And I would have thought, and I got to own it, that that these tariffs were going to fucking sink this economy by this time, and they didn't.
So, Bill,
I'm here at Courageous Media. Really appreciate everybody rolling up. We got Bill Maher actually calling out the libs, actually calling out what's going on and speaking a little bit of truth. I do have to say, I'm not a Bill Maher fan. I'm not thinking he's the greatest thing since sliced bread by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not thinking he's actually a big asset to the conservative movement. But Bill Maher is actually starting to call out truth where he sees it. Now, he's done this before in different venues, different topics, not necessarily Trump, not all politics. But Bill Maher is actually starting to take a stand against some of these liberal whack jobs who are just TDS all the time. And so now you've got Bill Maher actually saying, hey, I was wrong. I thought tariffs were going to tank the economy. Turns out they didn't. Turns out we ran a surplus in June. Turns out stock market's at an all-time high. Turns out we're not in a depression. Turns out Trump was right. So we got awesome stuff going on while the liberal left is absolutely coping and seething over what's going on. So before we dive into this, we got great news in the aftermath of the US-EU trade deal. That is just basically Trump taking the EU to the woodshed. This is phenomenal stuff for the US economy. And we're going to get into all that. Before we do, please like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know how we're doing in the comments. For the algorithm, it's fantastic. Help us get back on top of the YouTube algorithm. Really appreciate everybody rolling up. And we got Resnap in the house, Bob in the house. Yes, the Dems get crazier every day. 100%. Welcome in, everybody. All right, let's dive right in. So this is a great one. You've got the French Prime Minister basically lambasting this EU trade deal, calling it a dark day, saying that the EU basically chose submission. What else? What other option did you have, nitwit? You want to stand alone? You guys want to be alone on the world stage? No, you don't. And you have to trade with the United States. We are the largest consumer economy in the world. We make up 39% of the world's consumption. Now, you guys are probably second. You're probably second in the EU. Not you, France. No, but the EU combined is probably second in consumption. But it's still not even close to the US. So you need the US market to survive. All of von der Leyen's comments about, thanks for the stability and everything else, but we're actively trying to open up new markets. You cannot open them up at the rate that anybody else can. And you have to have the US consumer market if you want to make a product and make a profit. So this is phenomenal news. Trump tariff 15% means European exporters will face more than triple the average 4.8 levy now in force. This is great stuff. The French Prime Minister, Francois Bayrou, said the EU had capitulated to Donald Trump's threats of ever-increasing tariffs, and he labeled the framework a dark day for the EU. It's a dark day when the alliance of free peoples brought together to affirm their common values and defend common interest resigns itself to submission. Well, maybe you should have made a deal earlier. It might have been better for you. But this is great stuff. The left is absolutely apoplectic over what is going on, over the fact that Trump is winning. We're going to get into a clip from Fox News, which is great stuff, and then a clip from CNN, where we can see the left is absolutely beside itself. They can't stand the fact that Trump and America are winning. They would rather America lose for Trump to get egg on his face. They would rather the American worker get shafted as long as Trump gets egg on his face, as long as the elites win, as long as they get more power. This is absolutely phenomenal stuff. All right. Sonoran Guy, howdy y'all. Welcome in. Thanks so much for being here. Resnap, thank you so much. It's kind of you. All right. Let's dive right in. Check this out from Mornings with Bartiromo. This is a great little clip. Here we go.
To the president for getting the European deal signed, but now the China talks start today.
Yeah, which is very big.
Yeah,
I mean, you have to take a step back and say this is pretty phenomenal what's happening. I mean, President Trump is basically resetting the terms of global trade single-handedly and in the face of unbelievable opposition from every economist, every think tank, every business saying you can't do it. It's going to be a disaster. It's going to ruin our economy. Look, a lot of this stuff is yet to be hashed out. The EU deal looks very good for the United States. There is a list of
Absolutely. The EU deal is phenomenal for the US. But look at what it does. There's one thing I want to point out. It follows along the same trajectory as every other deal we have signed so far, post Liberation Day reciprocal tariffing. So Trump, as she said, Trump is single-handedly resetting global trade. He is single-handedly destroying the post-World War liberal democratic order, which basically screwed the US in favor of every other country. We got hosed, every other country got rich. And Trump is saying, hell no, not anymore. This is truly America first. So what you've got in every single trade deal, the incoming tariffs that those countries are paying to access the US market varies between 15 and 19%. So these countries are all paying a fee to access our consumer market. And we are paying nothing to enter their country. Our goods are going into the EU tariff-free. They go into Vietnam, tariff-free. They go into Japan, tariff-free. Meanwhile, all these countries are also ponying up huge sums of investment in America. In the EU deal, Trump got $2 trillion of investment. You got 750 billion worth of energy sales. You got 600 billion worth of investment. And you've also got defense sales amount to be determined. But based on what their defense budget is, you're looking at another 700 billion in defense spending with US companies. That's 2 trillion of investment. Now, nobody knows for sure, but most of the experts, if you look up the pundits and the economic experts, they say that $5 billion, I believe is the number, usually equates to about 5,000 jobs, somewhere in there. So if you're talking 2 trillion, you're talking a tremendous amount of jobs that are flowing into the US economy. Scott Bessent said that based on all the deals that Trump has been out there making, we're looking at $15 trillion coming into the US economy. The total market cap of Silicon Valley is 9 trillion. So almost double what the whole of Silicon Valley is what you've got coming into the US in foreign investment because of Donald Trump and the MAGA America First agenda. This is phenomenal stuff.
Of products where we're going to have zero for zero tariffs, like airplanes, airplane parts, chemicals, et cetera. That, I think, is incredibly important because hopefully, frankly, that list continues to expand because at the end of the day, you do want fewer barriers to trade, not more barriers to trade. So maybe that expands. But my gosh, what an unbelievable accomplishment. And I get that if you watch the press reaction to this yesterday, they couldn't believe it. They actually couldn't believe. And by the way, I heard a commentator on the radio this morning, a Brit, talking very nastily about this deal. I think a longtime trade negotiator.
Exactly. The press can't stand it. Why? Because America is winning and they have staked their reputation, their claim to power, their money on America losing. They threw their lot in with the global cabal of corruptocrat elites decades ago. That's why the liberal media hates it when America wins and when Trump wins. Check this out from CNN.
desperately to get Europe to abandon Nord Stream 2 and buy energy from us. And, you know, back then they were hooked on cheap Russian gas. They didn't think that Russia posed a threat to Europe. Look how a few years have changed things. So now they don't want to buy from Russia. They want to buy from the U.S. This is something that is tailor-made for this kind of a deal. And I think very soon you're going to see what's, you know, was known as a transatlantic highway of LNG tankers going across the Atlantic to Portugal or to other ports and depositing, you know, large amounts of LNG. And we will become the dominant supplier to Europe, which is in Europe's benefit and it's in our benefit. And it really, really screws Russia, which is exactly the goal.
So as
Absolutely. Did you see the look on her face? I mean, she just can't stand this. No smile. I mean, look at this. Look at the look.
Going
Really?
across the Atlantic.
I mean, she is visibly upset by the fact that Europeans are now going to buy $750 billion a year of U.S. energy. Think about that. That's 1/10. That's 1/10 of the total GDP of Silicon Valley. How many jobs is that? Tens of thousands of high-paying, good jobs for American workers. Now, maybe she's upset because most of those jobs are going to be in the South. They're going to be in Texas. They're going to be in Louisiana. They're going to be in Alabama. You know, I don't know, but it's absolutely amazing that they cope and seethe over this. They wanted Trump to fail, but the American people don't. The American people are very happy with this. Sonoran guy, absolutely. CNN, the Commie News Network. Chris Human, same thing. You got it. 100%. Now, on that same CNN, you've got the one guy who manages, other than Scott Jennings, who manages to, you know, speak truth every now and then, Harry Enton, talking about the fact that it's not looking good for Democrats. Why? Because Trump keeps winning and the American people want Trump to keep winning. Check this out.
How has this changed, or how does this compare to during the campaign?
Yeah, again, this to me was a surprising number since Donald Trump said he'd come in and broker all these peace deals. And while he's brokered some, he hasn't obviously brokered one between Ukraine and Russia and obviously the situation in Gaza. But take a look here. Trust more in foreign policy. You go back to 2024. Trump had a 6-point advantage over Kamala Harris. Again, look at the average right now. It hasn't moved despite everything that's going on in the world. You see Republicans plus 6 points here. And this goes back to a larger issue that we have discussed over and over again here in the mornings. Despite any misgivings that the American public might have about Donald Trump, when you match up Republicans against Democrats, Donald Trump against Democrats, still at this particular point, they are doing significantly better than you might expect. And when it comes to the issue of foreign policy, again, what you see is in the American voters' minds, Democrats simply put can't hack it more.
Absolutely. They can't hack it because they've had 4 years to show you what they were all about in foreign policy, and it was an abysmal failure. We have the Gaza war because of Democrats. We have the Ukraine war because of Democrats. And everybody knows it now. And Trump, to many chagrin, was not able to get the Ukraine war fixed in a day. It should have been able to. Remember, they were at the negotiating table in Turkey 5 years ago. Back in 2023. And they were ready to go until the stupid Democrats and the globalist cabal and the deep state and the military industrial complex basically told the prime minister of Britain at the time, floppy haired guy, I can't think of his name off the top of my head. Basically, you go fly to Kyiv and tell Zelensky, don't sign the deal. This war was over 5 years ago until the military industrial complex deep state got involved. And now we're stuck with this problem. And now it's going to take Trump confronting Putin economically, diplomatically, and essentially the European Union supplying Ukraine with weapons because the U.S. isn't going to give any more money. It's going to be the Europeans buying the weapons from the U.S., which, hey, no skin off our back. You can buy them from us, and giving them to Ukraine to essentially prolong this war, prolong the killing, up the body count until we can get both sides to the table. But the U.S. siding up with the EU, siding up with Japan, the U.S. making these trade deals and resetting global trade is putting us right in the driver's seat. And what it's going to allow us to do is eventually bring this war to an end. Now, realize Trump's already done this, well, with Cambodia and Thailand. Go check out the now unconditional ceasefire between Cambodia and Thailand, a war that's been going on for decades, on again, off again, on again, off again. Well, it was in a very hot stage a couple of weeks ago with essentially the two militaries simply trading blows, like two, in proverbial heavyweight fighters, just basically, popping off on each other. Trump gets involved and says, hey, boys, daddy's home. Here's what's going to happen. You guys are going to shut this thing down, or I am going to stiff you both with such high tariffs that you will not do business in the U.S. I will shut down your export economies. And within 24 hours, they're like, yeah, we're done. Okay, let's negotiate. This is the power that Trump has as the new global king of world trade. He has put the U.S. back in the position of we run the economic rules here. We are the economic engine. And you can, if you don't want to do business with the U.S., fine, go your own way. But if you don't toe the line, especially when it comes to foreign policy and doing what we want, you won't do business with us. This is phenomenal stuff. Hey, really appreciate everybody rolling up. You guys are awesome. Peter, first name, Mark Mitchell from Massachusetts. That's is a good tracker. Yeah, there are some worrying signs, but now that Trump's getting these trade deals, I don't see those. And that was all within the real hot button of the Epstein situation. Now that Trump is, now that they're interviewing Ghislaine Maxwell, now that they're giving her immunity, now that this is all going to start coming out, now that they've requested the grand jury transcripts be unsealed, now essentially Trump has shifted that off of himself onto the courts, onto the DOJ, and basically onto Ghislaine, and we're going to see how that plays out. But they also trumped that. Sorry for the pun, terrible. They also trumped that. They played the trump card of the Obama-Russia gate and the DNI releasing and declassifying all that, which has actually become a much bigger story. But and that's a perfect segue as we dive into our next story of the day, which is all about that very thing, Obama-Russia gate, Obamagate, the Russia collusion hoax, as well as the continuing saga of the Epstein files. And Trump was speaking live from Turnberry with Keir Starmer. Let's dive into that, where he talks about not only the whole Epstein vector, but Obama and Biden and everybody else that have been trying to come after him for a long time. And so this is phenomenal stuff because, again, it's Trump really turning the tables on the libs. Check this out. As we do that, please like, comment, and subscribe. If you like the content, please share Courageous Media so we can get back on top of the YouTube algorithm. And if you really like it, please join us as a member of the Courageous Army on YouTube or Patreon. You can see the link right there on YouTube. Just hit join. Come join us. Thanks so much. Here we go.
On the Epstein files, or your name has not appeared in the Epstein files. But doesn't the AG have to tell you if your name is...
Well, I haven't been overly interested in it. It's a hoax that's been built up way beyond proportion. I can say this, those files were run by the worst scum on earth. They were run by Comey. They were run by Garland. They were run by Biden and all of the people that actually ran the government, including the auto pen. Those files were run for 4 years by those people. If they had anything, I assume they would have released it. The whole thing is a hoax. They ran the files. I was running against somebody that ran the files. If they had something, they would have released. Now, they can easily put something in the files that's a phony. Like, as an example, Christopher Steele, a person you know well, happens to be from your country. But Christopher Steele, as an example, wrote a book, a dossier. We call it the fake news dossier. And the whole thing was a fake. The whole thing was a fake. They can put things in the file that are fake. But those files were run by bad, sick people. If they had anything, why didn't they use it when I was killing Joe, and then he gave out because he was 25 points down. And then I got somebody new. Nobody even knew anything about her. She was a horrible vice president. She was a border czar, but she never went to the border. She never once called a border patrol agent to find out how we're doing. But she was the border czar. Her name was Kamala. Nobody knows her last name. It was Harris, but nobody knew her last name. So I ended up, how would you like to end up in a race where you're killing somebody, you're beating him, and then they say, all right, we'll take him out. He's not working. Let's put somebody else. And then she had a 6-week honeymoon. It was amazing. They predicted she would have a 6-week honeymoon, and she did. And then she got slaughtered. But think of it. Those files were run by these people. They were run by my enemy. If there was anything in there, they would have used them for the election. Yeah.
All right. So, absolutely. So here you got Trump talking about the whole Epstein vector, which is the only thing right now that the left is trying to attack Trump on. They can't attack him on trade. They can't attack him on the economy. They can't basically attack him on anything else. Now, with that, I want to talk about this because this was a hilarious video from the Benny Show. They didn't catch because Swalwell actually posted this. I mean, the guy is such a complete and utter life loser. All right. So continuing on the theme of the confluence of the Epstein vector to attack Trump. And meanwhile, Trump and the entire Obama Russiagate, which is now starting to dominate the news cycle, such that along with Trump basically allowing Ghislaine Maxwell to get immunity and to testify, along with asking these files, the grand jury testimony to be unsealed, and that whole drama, he has essentially got people, for the most part, to move off the Epstein thing, except for the Democrats, and onto the Obamagate situation. But here you've got Swalwell doing his damnedest to try to resurrect the Epstein vector, but it's not going too well. Check this out.
Committee. And ladies and gentlemen, this individual decided to bench press what absolutely Marjorie Taylor Greene or my wife could bench press. Maybe we'll have to do a video proving that. It's about 135 pounds. Any teenager could do that. Any teenage male could do this. If you are an adult male and you're posting a video of like a flex, and he does try and flex here, he does like go out of his way to talk about pumping iron. If you're posting a video of you pushing 135 pounds, 2 plates, again, most women at the gym could do this. You're an adult man and you're proud of yourself. You really should be truly ashamed. This is embarrassing. But he posted it because their self-introspection and shame is something that is impossible to find on the other side. And so, ladies and gentlemen, here's the video. Here's Eric Swalwell talking about having, using the Epstein vector to attack Trump while he's doing his little estrogen pushes here. Let's go.
He's absolutely right. I mean, if anybody's ever been in the gym, bench pressing 135 pounds is nothing. I mean, that is an absolute nothing burger. So the fact that you're in there showing off bench pressing 135 pounds, that's not even body weight. That means it calls into question, can you even do a push-up? Because I guarantee you Swalwell, with his little pudgy belly, weighs more than 135 pounds. Check this out.
I should be working right now. I should be at the Capitol. I should be in a suit. Instead, Republicans sent us home because they would rather stand up for Donald Trump than release the Epstein files and stand up for victims. We could be at Washington, D.C., lowering your healthcare costs, lowering your grocery costs, and restoring your rights. I should be working right now. Instead, I'm pumping iron at the gym.
Yeah, you're not really pumping iron. I don't know what you're doing, but that's basically a no effort self-own. And frankly, the Democrats never would have done anything to lower any cost. It's not in their vocabulary.
No, dude, you're not pumping iron. You're a pussy. And the fact that you think that this is what men do at the gym and that somehow this is going to attract men to the Democrat Party, it's just a series of massive backfires. The opposite. I decided to record my own video. You can see,
Alex, you're exactly right. I mean, this is the Democrat man to a T. An estrogen infused man pretending to be a woman, pretending to pump iron.
Eric Swalwell obviously using the Epstein vector to attack Trump. This is why we need Trump to go on offense on this issue and to go directly at Democrats who are guilty for unspeakable crimes with Epstein. But Eric Swalwell himself is guilty of unspeakable crimes. He's never been punished for them. So we decided to make our own video this morning and posted. Here's my version.
Well, had sex with a Chinese spy.
You need to start from the beginning, please.
Eric Swalwell had sex with a Chinese spy. Her name was Fang Fang. She fundraised for his campaign and donated money to him. Then she fled the country when she was found out. She even placed staff in Eric Swalwell's office, but nothing ever happened to Eric Swalwell. Then Eric Swalwell crapped himself on live TV.
That the president used taxpayer dollars to ask the Ukrainians to help him cheat an election.
That's Eric Swalwell.
He did. Client load and flip, please.
Absolutely true. So I just love Benny Johnson. Benny Johnson does some hilarious stuff. But Swalwell is one of those that pushed the Russia collusion hoax, knowing it was false, while at the same time he was banging a Chinese spy and actually took donations in yuan, actually took foreign money donations. Now we're going to have a list of everybody that needs to be prosecuted, or at least a partial list. But check this out, because now there are actual senators and congressmen calling for not just investigations necessarily, but prosecutions. Check this out.
Yesterday on Sunday Morning Futures, the unraveling of the Russiagate scandal and really who is behind all of this. And it looks like this has only just begun. Maria spoke with CIA Director John Ratcliffe on Sunday Morning Futures. He says there's more intelligence to be declassified, and it's going to happen soon. Watch what he told her.
That I have spent the last few months making recommendations about final declassification and sent that to the Department of Justice that will come out in the John Durham report classified annex. And what that intelligence shows, Maria, is that part of this was a Hillary Clinton plan, but part of it was an FBI plan to be an accelerant to that fake Steele dossier, to those fake Russia collusion claims by pouring oil on the fire, by amplifying the lie and burying the truth of what Hillary Clinton was up to.
Former House Intelligence Chair Devin Nunes also told Maria he questions whether that August 2022 Mar-a-Lago raid was related to documents related to his official assessment of the 2016 election interference report. Senator, you say the Obama White House was the true threat to democracy. And I want to actually pick up on this as well, because that Durham report he's talking about, the annexes, the annotations at the bottom of the report, that's where the focus is right now. And this is, I want to get your reaction to references, footnotes, anything that was declassified in there, legal standards, maybe some of the summaries, not transcripts of the interviews. What is most important to you in that?
Oh, wow. There's a lot to unravel there. But remember, the Obama never thought that Trump could win. They never thought anyone would go back and uncover this paperwork. I think that the Obama White House was the true threat to democracy. Think about psychological projection. That's what the Democrat Party is now. That's one of the reasons they have such low approval ratings, is this psychological projection. So for years, they've been saying President Trump was a threat. But now we understand that Obama was actually involved in this. They lied to us about COVID. They lied to us about Biden's health. They lied to us about the Pfizer report and the Russia. They lied to us about Hunter's laptop. So this is the threat to democracy. They continue this psychological projection, accusing others of what they've been doing. And I sat there and thought about it this weekend. Why would they allow this paperwork to be done and no one covered it up? The issue of after the election when in the White House, President Obama is intertwined in reversing the intelligence agency's review. And I think he was just so brazen, he was so cocky that he didn't think anyone could ever shake him up. And now Americans are asking, will someone go into jail? And that's what needs to happen next, is somebody needs to go to jail for misleading the public in this area.
Absolutely. People need to go to prison. Now, here is just a partial list. And I say it's a partial because two people of note that are not on here are Swalwell and Schiff. But here is just a partial list of the people that need to go to prison for treasonous conspiracy or seditious conspiracy or conspiracy against rights, whatever you get them on. All of those vectors are open based on what they did to the J6 people. Obama, Lynch, Comey, Clinton, Podesta, Huma, Susan Rice, Valerie Jarrett, Brennan, Clapper. You've got Rod Rosenstein. You've got Mueller, because Mueller was obviously, he had all the information. He was in on it. Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, McCabe, amongst others. Add that Swalwell, add Schiff. All of the above. They need to be investigated, they need to be indicted, and they need to be perp walked out of their house in front of the media, just like all of the J6 political prisoners were. Make it an absolute free-for-all. Make it an absolute media frenzy around this stuff. These people need to lose real material losses. They need to lose reputation. They need to lose money. They need to lose freedom. That's what I need to see. Now, thanks everybody for rolling up so far. We got one more story for you, because along this, not along this same line, but while Trump was in Scotland at Turnberry speaking with Starmer, Trump had some very revelatory things to say about Putin and what's going on with the Ukraine war now that we discussed that. So before we get into that, please like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share Courageous Media. Join us as a member. Would love to have you help support the show. With that, let's get on top of the YouTube algorithm. Really need everybody's help. And so let's dive right into Trump and his latest revelations on Putin.
I've spoken to President Putin a lot. I got along with him very well, but 5 times, and every time 4 times maybe. But we've had discussions. You and I have had discussions. Yeah. We thought we had that settled numerous times. And then President Putin goes out and starts launching rockets into some city like Kiev and kills a lot of people in a nursing home or whatever. You have bodies lying all over the street. And I say, that's not the way to do it. So we'll see what happens with that. I'm very disappointed. I'm disappointed in President Putin. Very disappointed in him. So we're going to have to look, and I'm going to reduce that 50 days that I gave him to a lesser number, because I think I already know the answer what's going to happen.
Absolutely. So we're going to get into that at the end, but I want to dive into, because Fox Business had General Keane on. Now, you know, he's sometimes good and sometimes bad, but I think he's got some really good insights on this one in terms of where this thing is headed. And where Trump is going to go next in terms of with sanctions and other things in order to put the pressure on Putin. Trump is done with this whole Putin thing. Trump is done because now he sees the problem as Putin, not Zelensky. Zelensky is a problem, but in this particular case, he's not the problem. Check this out.
Losing patience with Putin. He's moving up the deadline to reach a peace deal. Watch this.
Russia. Earlier you said that you were going to change the deadline from 50 days.
Yeah,
what is your new deadline?
I'm going to make a new deadline of about 10 or 12 days from today. There's no reason in waiting. There's no reason in waiting. They want to be generous, but we just don't see any progress being made. I'll say probably tonight or tomorrow. It would be sanctions and maybe tariffs, secondary tariffs.
Just to be clear, the old deadline was September the 2nd for Russia to agree to move towards a peace talks. Now the deadline is 10 to 12 days away from now. Are sanctions inevitable?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, the president certainly has concluded that diplomacy here has run its course.
and he's moving to confrontation. And that's what providing Ukraine with the weapons that they need was a major inflection point on his part, and now slapping sanctions. And
Now remember, the beautiful part about that inflection point is we didn't have to give him any money. Trump basically said, we'll supply you with the weapons, the best made weapons in the world, but the EU is going to pay for it. And the EU basically ponied up and said, yeah, we're paying for it. This is the best part of both worlds. We get to supply the weapons. We get to fortify Ukraine against Putin until Putin comes to the table, but we don't have to pay for it. It's no longer hundreds of billions of US dollars exiting our country for a war across the world.
You know, because you've been reporting on it, Russia has challenges in their economy. They got inflation problems. They got currency problems. They have less revenue coming in than they would like to have. These sanctions are always challenging in enforcing it. And it'll take some time to take hold. But clearly, Putin sees what's in front of him, that the Trump administration is not doing what he wanted them to do, and that is walk away. Because the president would be frustrated and he's finished with Ukraine. That's not happening. He recognizes that a stable Europe is in the United States' interest, and he cannot let Putin take Ukraine. He knows that, and that's why he's staying in here, supporting Ukraine and wanting to confront Putin. He wanted a better answer from Putin. Yeah. He didn't get it, and now he's moving in a different direction.
When we look at the war in the Mideast and the war Russia-Ukraine, it seems to be dominated by drones. They seem to be making the running. Is America's military adjusting to that?
Yeah, very quickly. They know they have to adjust to it. I've been very close to the Chief of Staff of the Army. He's brought me out to 2 exercises that I've seen, one in Europe and one in the Southwest of the United States, where he brought all these drones from various private companies, commercial companies in the United States. They had hundreds of them with the industry CEOs on the ground watching us use these. The Army and the Marines, particularly the land forces, as well as our forces in the Pacific, are very much aware of how drone warfare is dominating the battlefield. But frankly, we are in catch-up because...
So you've got Trump basically saying he's going to shorten the time with Putin to 10 to 12 days. We're going to get, he actually speaks to that directly while in Turnberry. But first I want to get to this because Trump posted this, which I think is very, very telling. And if I was Putin, I would actually be worried at this point. So here's Trump. Trump says he's not interested in talking with Putin. President Donald Trump said he's always gotten along with Russian President Vladimir Putin, but on Monday, he said he's not interested in talking. He's done talking. He has tried and tried and tried for 6 months to get Putin and Zelensky to the table. And between the two of them, they keep screwing it up. But lately, the last 3 months, it's been all Putin. Russia could be so rich right now, but instead they spend everything on war. I really thought this was going to end. Every time I think it's going to end, he kills people, Trump said. And he's true. Every time he gets something close to a negotiation, people are supposed to meet, you've got Putin launching massive attacks on civilians. And that's why Trump is done. And so here it is in his own words from Turnberry.
I'm going to make a new deadline of about 10 or 12 days from today. There's no reason in waiting. There's no reason in waiting. It's 50 days. I want to be generous, but we just don't see any progress being made.
Mr. President, and that should worry Putin because Trump can actually put real teeth to these sanctions. Realize he just did something similar, a totally different conflict, different personalities, everything. But imagine what he did with Thailand and Cambodia. Now, imagine that same force, economic sanction force, directed right at Russia. Hey, Russia, if you don't toe the line, we're going to tariff you out of existence from dealing with America. Now, you might think you'll still deal with everybody else. But if we put sanctions on, like we did against Iran 5-6 years ago, where basically we say, hey, you cannot do business with the G20. And then we go to the G20 and say, and if you think you're going to backdoor us, anybody who does business with Russia will not do business with the US. Or if he gets the whole G20 on board with the G20. Now you walk over and say, okay, Iran, China, you want to play ball with Russia? Go right ahead. You will not do business with the US. Those tariffs will go immediately from 55% to 400%. We will shut you out of the US economy. We will shut you out of the European Union economy. We will shut you out of the G20. And suddenly those sanctions will be able to stick. There'll be very little way around them. Russia would have to become an almost entirely insular economy. Now it can be done. It's a little harder than you think, and it takes time, but they won't have the money to run the war. There will be no liquid natural gas, natural gas sales. There'll be none of that external income coming in. So this is going to be very interesting to see how it plays out. Let me know what you think in the comments. Really appreciate everybody rolling up. Thanks so much for being here today. Remember, God is good and he is sovereign. It'll all be good in the end. Till I catch you next time. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share Courageous Media. Thanks so much.